All right, everybody. Mike and Dan back. Extra butter. Our buddy Clay sitting between the curtains, about to talk on everything in the new Solo movie. Yes, lots of spoiling going on, so stop now if you're like not into that thing and that makes you mad.
You ready to spoil this bitch?
I am ready to spoil this bitch. Can I start with a question for you guys?
Yes, please.
So Kira, right? And I love Emilia Clarke. I'm a big Game of Thrones fan.
Yeah.
So
is that where she's from? I did not recognize her.
Yeah, that's right.
I did recognize her.
You know, and so was excited to see her in the movie, but still don't understand if her character is a new one or if there's something I'm missing because I never, read the books or the graphic novels or any of that stuff. Because there's that scene. Obviously it's a early love interest of Han Solo, and that's part of his drive to become, the greatest pilot in the galaxy and everything else.
Yeah.
But then at the end, to jump ahead, like the whole thing with Darth Maul, right?
Yes.
And her connection to the dark side, and presumably the very beginnings of the Emperor and the Empire, and I didn't understand if they were creating something new that could then perhaps become part of the next Solo movie, or if there was something there that I just didn't know about in terms of the backstory that's out there.
It's a valid question, especially in this one, because this movie was like double cross after double cross. After
everybody,
double cross, right?
Exactly.
And so you have no clue like what side people are playing, what they're really on, what their motivations are, and that kind of plays into it.
Yeah.
Is that her ultimate end game? Is she playing Darth Maul? Right. And just pardon my ignorance, don't get mad, but that definitely was Darth Maul, right? I don't know if that's Darth Maul or he's part of a race.
Mike.
That was Darth Maul.
Okay. Yes. Well, I didn't know if maybe he's part of like a race of people, a species of people that have that look. Maybe he's not necessarily.
May well, but then obviously when he pulled out the double-sided lightsaber, you knew it was Darth Maul.
Okay.
They don't all look the same.
They don't all look the same.
I'm being discriminatory. What's the word when you oppress certain people from planets? Okay, so that was Darth Maul.
That was Darth Maul.
Yeah, it was Darth Maul, and and we're kind of left to wonder: is she working with him? Is she actually trying to take him down?
And the whole thing with the Crimson Tide, was it called? It was
the Crimson Tide.
Go
Bama!
The Crimson Moon, the Crimson Dawn,
Crimson Sun.
Crimson Dawn.
Was it Dawn?
I can't. Crimson's in there. I do remember.
I like Crimson Tide. Let's go with that.
I like that too.
Was that a Nick Nolte movie from the 80s? But yeah, it's not clear to me with the whole crime syndicates and the connection to the dark side and the Emperor and Darth Maul, who since you obviously don't know, was the Emperor's apprentice very early on.
Thank you.
But anyway,
and you were wondering if she
if she shows up later, maybe they're setting it up because like we talked about earlier, they've already announced that they're going to do another Solo movie.
Yeah.
I could see that being part of it. Maybe him pursuing her, and then sort of getting more involved with the Empire there. But it was that to me was a little bit confusing, and I also thought at the end of the movie they sort of wrapped up a lot of things really quickly. Like you didn't know what happened to Lando Calrissian. He takes off in the Millennium Falcon.
Right. Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself like, the next movie must pick up with however he actually ends up coming to own the Millennium Falcon, and then sort of in the last 5 minutes of the movie they run through that really quickly and they get it back to a place where this could end here.
Right.
But so that was my one criticism I had, was just that was a little confusing to me, and it looked like it was a little haphazard at the end. And I almost wonder if maybe that's like Ron Howard and the executive producers coming in and deciding, okay, this is the direction we want to take it. We know now we're going to do another movie. Let's make some changes here and sort of create a segue. But but that did seem a little bit like I said, sort of shoddy, kind of thrown together last minute.
It did, yeah. He'll stick around, of course, and I think her character will probably be the next two.
I would assume, and then I bet the next movie sort of focuses on her. But
it
was interesting because
it was,
and all the double crossing I liked too. Like that was the Woody Harrelson's character, right? And the whole thing about don't trust anybody but yourself, right? Isn't that the same advice that Han gives to Luke when he first meets Luke?
There's some fan catching.
I think it is.
Yeah, they had a lot of those little things in there, and that could have been one. That's a good one, and that's what I mean when I was saying earlier the non-spoiler or whatever. about how I felt like, they created a good backdrop for developing Han as a character that we come to know later on with kind of these, just encounters.
That builds a little foundation, sort of shows you where these things came from.
Yeah, it shows how he kind of becomes jaded. It shows how he kind of maybe ultimately goes from seeing himself as a villain to the hero.
Yeah, and the dichotomy, right, between him being a smuggler looking out for just himself, but then that part of him that wants to sort of help the rebellion, and you see that sort of that internal struggle develop from a very young age with him in this movie.
Good Lord. Were they alluding to a sexual relationship between Lando and his droid co-pilot?
Oh, yes.
Somewhat, right?
So she was saying the droid's take was that Lando was in love with her, but that it could never happen, so she was going to have to break his heart.
But then you remember she asked her, could that work? Wink, wink, nod, nod. And she's like, no,
yes, it works.
And she's able to tell accurately if someone has the hots for somebody else.
Yeah,
it was his heart, his heart palpitations.
All those biological
so she
readings,
knew,
man.
Lando was totally into her. Yeah.
In that moment,
which is weird.
Which is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
But then when L3 gets destroyed,
well, that's what I mean.
Lando was crying.
He acted like there was something going on there.
He obviously very attached to his droid.
Yeah. Someone throw in the comment section, throw out the term for human android dating.
Has that been done?
Sexual relationship. What do we call it? There's interspecies, right? There's
droidiality.
Yeah, but I thought that was an interesting little injection into some concepts there.
Yeah,
but the droid was like a big social justice warrior. So I guess she would support it without judgment. Don't judge.
And that was actually a cool little side story. Well, it wasn't even a side story, but just all the commentary about liberation and equality for droids. And then the little mini droid rebellion she leads on the mining planet. It was cool.
Yeah, you laughed the hardest at watching the droid stomping on the control panel.
Yeah.
That got you. I got that. That was a good one. I don't know. What was your favorite action sequence? I was a big fan of the that train set piece. The kind of the twisting around the corners.
Absolutely.
And, how that got them falling
kind
off
of
the
like
side.
An old West, like Clint Eastwood, like Star Wars feel to it. It was really cool.
And it's I don't know. They really love that concept, and it never gets sick. I never get sick of it either. Just the whole we've got to decouple a train,
right? To steal the cargo,
airlift it out, and then how they kind of built on that idea by having two opposing factions attached to the train piece and pulling it in opposite directions, and it's we either sacrifice ourselves to keep the cargo, or we let it go so we can live, and no one will end up getting it, which is what happened. Everyone lost it. And we got to see the thing explode, which I totally get behind.
It was pretty cool. And, that explosion was really neat.
Yeah, I found it pretty thrilling.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, almost to a detrimental extent, because I felt like the movie kind of plotted a bit after that sequence.
It was a slow transition from there to the end. Yeah. Although I did like the scene. Obviously the being able to do the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs.
Yes.
Like a huge thing, from the original movie, right? And so being able to see that story and the story itself, it was fun seeing them on Kessel fighting their way out of the mines, and that, by the way, had a very Indiana Jones Temple of Doom feel to it. That whole scene where they were underground with the slaves and everything else. But then when they get out, I thought the scene with him flying away and sort of veering off the path and having to fly through the storm and almost getting sucked into the black hole, it was entertaining in parts, but it did move sort of slowly, and then it picked up again once they got back to the other planet to refine the what was it called, the coaxium.
Whoa,
dude,
that's pretty good.
That's why we bring guys with suits into this bad boy.
I get paid for it.
Sharp.
But yes, the coaxium. Once they got it back to what was it? The planet was Severine.
Dang,
Severine.
I never latch onto those details.
It's a sponge up here. But once they got back to the planet and you got to meet the Marauders and find out they were actually apparently the early origins of the rebellion is what they realized, which was really cool.
That was neat. Yeah.
The other thing I liked, Chewie rescuing or freeing the other Wookiees. That was kind of cool.
My favorite part of his too is when he ripped the dude's arms socket, which was an allusion to a Star Wars where Han mentioned something like he'll rip your arms out of your sockets. So a little great fan service there.
It's not wise to upset a Wookiee.
I thought Chewie was looking a little thin.
He was, you know.
Notice that?
He was younger in this movie.
Yeah, he was young.
All right, so now the real question, folks. Let's rate this thing. What do we rate it? You know, how was this movie for us? So on Extra Butter, we don't necessarily do like stars or thumbs or anything like that. Sir, we do pumps of butter. How many pumps of butter on a scale of 1 to 10? Trademark. Don't steal it, lawyer. And you can use decimals, get a little granular on it. But yeah, who wants to go? Who wants to give us the rating for the Solo movie? First, anybody?
Well,
okay.
Solo may have done the Kessel run in 12 parsecs. But I think the movie gets a solid 8 pumps of butter for me.
Solid 8 pumps for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm a sucker, and I had set my expectations low for the reasons I mentioned earlier. So I was pleasantly surprised at the end of the movie.
Very good, very good. So yeah, definite recommendation for you. It sounds
for me,
like,
yeah.
to the folks. Danny D, you got a pump, number of pumps for us?
Okay, here's what I thought. So I felt like this movie was like blue cheese. Because when I eat blue cheese, I go, do I really like that or not? You ever get that?
I do.
Like blue cheese is kind of in between where you go, I gave it the blue cheese rating, which is 6 out of 10 right now.
A 6 out of 10.
And then I'm going to revisit
to grow on you.
Yeah, I'm going to revisit it.
And you, Mike T.
Yeah, I give this one a solid, 7 pumps. 7 pumps of butter. I mean, it was definitely adequate, pretty serviceable. I didn't think it did much in the way of any kind of like great emotional depth or something like that. It kind of plotted a bit.
And it pandered to the super fans a little bit, like with all the references.
Yeah. And there's some pandering, which I expect, and I don't really knock it for. But I didn't become invested in his story, these characters, in a way that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
So I had fun for a couple hours, and I'll probably forget the vast majority of it in like a month. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's one to run to the movie theaters. There's a couple set pieces like we talked about that warrant that big screen experience. But other than that, I think you're fine on a boring Saturday night throwing it on Netflix and seeing what's up. So
I like the Darth Maul. I know we're past that already, but
speak on it.
The Darth Maul thing made me happy. Yeah, because he's my favorite character he was my favorite, 20 minutes from all 3 of those movies. So.
And that last scene with Darth Maul and Kira gave me some hope for a good follow-up Solo movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I would not have otherwthis been like that. I'm excited.
Right.
But now I am excited to see what they do with that.
That's true, because before that, I was like, this could be it, and I'm okay.
Yeah.
But
I was like, oh.
After that, I was like, wow, okay. I can watch that. Yeah.
You nailed it. And if there were one lightsaber scene, that probably would have knocked up my score to a 7.5.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, that was the interesting thing, right? Because it was an entire Star Wars movies with no Jedis until the very, very end.
Yes. But I must say, I always love how they come up with creative ways to introduce that concept of a lightsaber, and they did it with I forget his name. The main protagonist's knives.
Oh,
so they have lightsaber edges.
That was cool.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
it was interesting.
It's like I can turn them on and off. I got a thick steak, I can use it. I got a nemesis I need to off.
Yeah,
I want to whittle some titanium.
It's multi-purpose. So
yeah,
cool. Well, Clay, much obliged again for you. Squeezing in the tiny little truck here and talking movies with us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
I was definitely waiting for this, so glad to have you. Thanks to you folks. Click the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Appreciate it.